how are you? My name is Michelle Connor. Again, I'm your VCS for Living Environment this year. So today we're going to be looking at how to access and adapt the Teach Hub lessons. So the first thing is we have to figure out how to get to Teach Hub. So what I usually do is I just Google New York City Teach Hub. The first one comes up. You'll see the schools.nyc.gov. And then when you're on this, it'll push you here. If you see, you could get pushed out into Teach Hub itself. Now, in order to use Teach Hub, you have to use your actual DOE account. Once you're in, it's going to bring you to the home page, and then you'll actually start seeing how to access information. So you have a high school, and they have a lot of great stuff there. The high school drive is what we're looking for. So once you're into the drive, if you happen to have multiple Gmail accounts logged into your computer, it may ask you to, it may say that you don't have access. So you want to make sure that you're signed in with your New York City DOE email. So it's the same email and username and password that you would use with your regular Outlook account. You would just sign into Google with that. So once you're here, this is what opens up. This is the high school folder. And you'll notice that you'll see some other folders built in here. You have ELA, math, science. So we're going to go into our science. And you'll see chemistry, physics, earth, and we're going to open our living. But this is so great because all the lessons for the year are here and created for you. So from week 1, we're already up to week 27, which we're not technically there yet date-wise, but all the material's already there for you for people who like to plan ahead. Any of these folders that you go in, they're all pre-made lessons. They're interactive. There's literacy, there's group activities, there's different discussion protocols, there's videos built in. So these are such great resources that people should really start taking advantage of. So again, we're going to be looking at week 25, just here. And this is all the stuff that's done during week 25. So we're going to open, just for instance, this lesson. It'll open you up. Now you'll notice there's a view only. So it's important that what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a copy before we're actually able to do anything with this other than just look at it. So in order for you to access the material and be able to edit it, you have to go to File, Make a Copy, and we want to make a copy of the entire presentation. So once you make a copy, you'll obviously, it says copy of. That's how you know you're in one that you could actually edit. So first thing we want to do is we want to look just kind of like what these lessons consist of. So of course, you'll notice that the first couple slides are for teachers. So there's a whole section of this PowerPoint that's just for teacher use, and they'll actually get deleted off before you give them to your students. So it's important that you kind of get familiar with it. They have the focus questions, different materials and resources, the unit and the day that's on the first slide. There's also different notes for the teachers, information, instruction on slides. There's supports for your different types of students, your L's. Again, asynchronous versus synchronous access to this information. Teacher support for students with disabilities. So there's really great stuff that you guys can use to actually edit and adapt if you need to, but also so you have a little bit more in your toolbox when you're filling out your own lesson plans. Now, once you get past the dark colored slides, you're going to get into the actual lesson itself. So this is actually where the lesson would begin. You would delete out all the slides from the top before you hand it to your students, and then the lesson would begin here. Now, you'll notice there's kind of an intro like what you guys are going to be covering, and then this little helpful hint that says anytime you see this icon in a light blue box, write your response. So this prompts the kids to know where they're actually typing their information. So there's lesson objectives, and then it's broken up by instruction or model, or all the yellow topped. The green tops are independent work. So these sometimes have clickable. So this is a CK12 article that's on there. There's questions that are built in. So you'll notice the blue boxes with your pencil symbol. That's where the kids are going to type in their answers. Some more independent work, which again is from the CK12. So if there's anything that they have to outsource or go to, the links are going to be built directly in. So anything that's blue is a hyperlink, and you'll be able to click out to get the information. There's also usually pictures and videos broken in. You'll notice sometimes when you click the pictures, some of the videos will actually play right here in the slideshow, where others will push you to actually go to YouTube itself. So again, we're back to another instruction or model. And then you have some check for understanding. So this is actually part of the relationship and biodiversity lab. There's different images of the test. So again, these blue boxes, that's where we're typing in our information. And then there's always a wrap-up, which are regions-based questions. So the regions-based questions are, you'll notice my answer choice is click to add the text. The blue box is where the kids are going to write their answers. And it shows you exactly kind of where we're getting these questions from. Now, the cool thing about these is they are completely able to be edited and changed based on the needs of your students. So if there's some things that are in here that you don't necessarily want to cover, or that take too long, or you don't feel as necessary, all you have to do is delete out those slides. If there's anything you want to add, all you have to do is add the slides. Another thing that some people like to do, you'll notice that there's like a little kind of mini lesson of work. There's a video. If you wanted to play the video as a class and have the students do the work as the video is playing, where the teachers are sharing the video and the kids are watching on the screen, that's a really helpful way to do it. Or you can give this as almost an entire asynchronous activity where the students are watching the videos on their own and answering the questions on their own. I like to keep the links in just in case the kids need to rewatch it, however. Sometimes I even give the students the option of watching it with us or signing off the meet and coming back in when they're done with this video. If that's the case, I like to go over all the instructional expectations and then all the work expectations if I am going to allow them to sign off and come back in when they need help or when they're done. So one thing I know sometimes people like to get all the instruction out of the way first and then give the students time to work. So you'll notice, again, these green tops are the independent work. Although this independent work is linked with this specific material, if you wanted to go ahead and teach everything that they're going to need to know for the day first and then go back, all you have to do is change the arranging of these slides. So you can move the slides around, so you'll notice this is now moved up. So I can move all the instruction to the top, then give the kids the opportunity to do some independent practice and go for checks for understanding, which again is that lab. If you wanted to just use this for the lab activity, so let's just say you don't really want to get this far into depth about DNA or about kind of the history of DNA, all you have to do is go ahead and delete the slides out. Now, sometimes this is technically a one-day lesson, but in many cases, it may take anywhere between 2 and 3 days for certain classes to get through some of these PowerPoints. Some of them are on the longer side. Some of them are pretty much definitely going to be able to be hit in one day. But that's the great thing is you can kind of split these if you wanted to do it in one day, if you wanted to do it in 2 days, and whatever works best for you. So a lot of the times there's actually extra information in here that isn't necessarily covered on the Regents or is a little bit more advanced. And if you want to use it, that's great. It's there for you to access. And if not, all you have to do is delete it out, which is not a problem. Even with the wrap-ups, there's a couple different wrap-up questions. So if you wanted to only maybe give the kids one wrap-up question, you can go ahead and delete whatever one or two that you don't like. So we just delete them out. Nice and easy. So again, before we give this to our students, we want to go ahead and delete all the notes to the teachers out first, because we don't want the kids to have this as extra information they don't need. And it would start right where the purple banner begins. So this would be the lesson after I just changed it, what I want the kids to do. So the article was too much for my kids. I don't want to use it, but I really want to make sure they get a basic idea of what's going on before we start checking for understanding for the lab activity. So I'm going to leave in the classification video and questions, because again, the kids are going to have to type and answer questions as we go through it. And I want to include the chromatography because that's important for the lab activity. And then I'm going to go ahead and push the kids right to do the lab, which they'll be using the pictures that are given and then able to record their information. It's super important, remember, if you are going to give these lessons to your students, that you make a copy for each student in Google Classroom. If you want these to be interactive and the students to be able to type on them and hand them in to make sure that they're understanding the material, you have to make a copy for each student. This is the most important thing when doing these lessons to make them interactive, is that each student gets their own copy and they can complete their own work.